This is the problem, is the rewriting of history. I get it. You don't like white men. Okay, we understand it, but you're wrong. Did you watch this, Pops Crowder, the Miller Lite?
Yeah.
Yeah, you did?
I did.
Yeah. Seething rage?
Well, I don't think men should drink Miller Lite anyway. So
yes, that's a good point. That's a good point. So
they're not men.
They're not men. They're silly little macchiato beers. So Miller Lite told Bud Light to hold its beer. Now this was actually something that was released in March, to be clear, but it's making the rounds now because they actually deleted it. They deleted it on Instagram, and so someone found it and it resurfaced, which tells you the kind of reaction that they got.
Yeah.
And this is Miller Lite deciding to burn their customer base to the ground. And by the way, also entirely factually inaccurate. So we'll fact check it really quickly just so you can kind of have justification for the... Look, if you're watching this, you're a Christian, it's wrong to hate. Unless you hate the right things, and Miller Lite qualifies.
Here's a little known fact. Women were among the very first to brew beer ever.
Oh, among?
From
How do you know? You
to
watched
the Middle
it.
Ages to colonial America, women were the ones doing the brewing. Centuries later, how did the industry pay homage to the founding mothers of beer? They put us in bikinis.
Founding mothers of beer.
Oh. Because that's offensive.
Yeah, we put them in that.
Yeah, we put them in that.
It's time beer made it up to women. So today,
You were already
Miller
in
Lite is
them.
on a mission to clean up not just their
We just noticed.
the whole beer industry's Miller Lite has been scouring the internet for all this
Now, is that a
and
trans
buying it
woman,
back
or
so that we can turn it into
shred that
good
sweater, too.
for women brewers. Literally, good How, you ask? Ladies, take it away.
First, we turn the bad into compost. Then we feed compost to worms.
Zip it.
Push out beautiful fertilizer.
Notice that they give her a smaller bag of fertilizer.
Which is then
10-pound bag,
donated
not
to
a
women
50-pound.
brewers to make their own really good
Colt
But there's
45?
definitely more out there. In your attic, in the garage, in your parents' basement. Send any you got into Miller Lite, and they'll turn that into good too. Oh. So here's to women, because without us, there would be no beer.
Well, without people like you, there'd be no reason for beer.
Without us, there'll be no Miller.
Yes, exactly. Remember, everybody, March was Women's Revisionary History Month, just to be clear.
Apparently so. Wait, that last claim. Without us, there would be no beer. You said among.
Yeah, exactly. We were among the first brewers, which means you watched and you said, hey, why are you spending all day brewing? Why don't you come home and talk to me? What are you thinking?
She meant amongst.
Yes.
Amongst.
Yes.
Apparently there were others that could have done this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
You know what? Sometimes you think, hey, maybe AI taking over half the jobs is a good thing.
We deserve it.
Yeah. And Forbes, and we're going to fact check this. Nearly everything she just said is incorrect, by the way. This is the problem, is the rewriting of history. I get it. You don't like white men. Okay, we understand it, but you're wrong. You're just incorrect. Now, Forbes praised the ad with an article titled Miller Lite's Campaign to Eradicate Sexist Beer Advertising Proof Successful. How? Sexist beer. First off, I don't know how beer can be sexist. I know they're saying advertising.
Right.
Tomorrow we actually will have our very own Mr. Miller, the sexist beer,
yeah. Okay, good.
to conduct an interview.
Yeah.
But it proved successful. So successful, they had to delete it from their own social media.
Immediately.
Post haste.
The minute Dylan Mulvaney started gracing a Bud Light, they're like, oh, God. Oh gosh. Sales are tanking.
They were watching the Dylan Mulvaney debacle unfurl like every single scientist who wasn't listened to before every disaster movie, like watching the stage 5, the level 5 hurricane, like, oh my God.
You know, I'd never had a Carl's Jr. until Paris Hilton. So it works.
That says more about you. That's the problem.
Absolutely. It's a terrible
Gosh, I want a
burger.
hamburger right now.
And a terrible person.
Yes. So, by the way, here, let's go through the claim and then some rapid fire. So the claim that she makes is from Mesopotamia to colonial America, women were the ones doing the brewing. Okay, here are some truths. No. Okay. Now, some women have been involved, to be certain, just like women are involved with a lot of things. But men throughout history have largely been the ones brewing beer. Now, if you mean that some woman at some point found something that happened to be fermented and like took a nibble, like, try it. And the guy was like, I have my own fermented wheat. And she was like, try mine. Maybe.
It's got peaches.
But men have been brewing beer throughout history. So let's go to 1265. Bohemian King Ottokar, hopefully I have that right, Ottokar II, chartered a brewery in the town of Budweis. Originally, that's the home of Budweiser, right? The origin, I should say. George Washington,
And
Thomas
the
Jefferson,
Clydesdales.
they had breweries on their own plantations. And women didn't actually do a lot of the brewing. Just to be clear, the widespread brewing of beer, it was present by, was present in ancient
Presided
Egypt and was presided over by men.
Yep.
Just to be clear. And then before you had this sort of mechanization, right, this sort of industrial revolution, planting, harvesting, of course, was what a lot of the men did. So maybe what they mean to say is that sometimes the men would do all of the legwork and then they take it and the women would be like, yeah, you go out with the scythe in the sun before we have SPF anything. And you bring it, and I'll stir the pot of the wort every now and then. And then I'm the brewer, I'm the brewmaster. I'm Mrs. Old Milwaukee. No, men did most of the physically exhaustive tasks that, of course, would be required to create beer. Here's just a clip because
Then, farmers used a simple scythe to harvest their grain. They could cut an acre a day. Then they had to thresh it. An average farm was small and it fed about 5 people.
and he did not come home to a woman who took credit. Nope. Like, why don't you use your scythe like maybe you should use it like this? It's more of a risk. Like, and maybe I this. Like, shut up.
He had dinner waiting for him.
Yes, exactly.
That's right.
73% of American farmers today are men. Just to be clear, men were paid in beer because it was so British Navy sailors, they received a daily ration of beer until the 1810s. Belgian farmhands were actually paid in what is commonly referred to now as saison beer. Some people call it farmhouse beer, but saison means season, right, in French.
First
it's because
beer I liked.
the season of the harvest. They would pay their work hands because it was safer than water back then. And again, most of the work hands were men.
And it's liquid bread.
Yes.
Serves a good purpose.
It's actually, if it's low ABV beer, it's not actually a bad idea in place of like a Gatorade. There are electrolytes, you have potassium, a little bit of salt in there, high source of silicone. Beer can be helpful in moderation. Again, people will get mad who don't drink. I understand. And if you don't drink, you don't have to start drinking. I'm just telling you that men brewed the beer and men were the farmhands who got all of the materials that were used to brew the beer. By the way, smash the Rumble button if you're watching on Rumble because that's the only place where this is allowed. Exactly. I mean, I could talk about this on YouTube. They'll just shadow ban it. Here's something else. The monks, just to be clear, they were involved with beer production. Monks, I don't know if you know this, monks mean men. The Belgian Trappist monks, they brewed beer to sustain themselves during fasting, which, by the way, makes fasting a whole lot easier if you can drink Belgian ales, to be clear.
I didn't even know.
You're instantly hammered.
Have you had any Westmalle or They're like 9-11%.
Yes.
On an empty stomach.
What are you doing? Oh, I'm just communing with the Lord.
The Daniel fast is so much easier.
That's right.
Yes, I find that I'm brought much closer to Jesus after 4 Belgian triples.
With no food on my stomach.
I forgot they're so perfect.
I'm fasting.
You had Catholic saints like St. Arnold, of course, and then you had St. Florian. They saved people with beer. They would use it. They would also commune amongst people. And then, by the way, the nuns only brewed Zima, so that was something just to be clear.
Come on.
Now let's look at the demographic. The brewers, they cater to their core demographic. Men prefer beer to women. According to a Gallup poll, men 54%, women 23%. Also,
That's a big gap.
Worth noting what we're talking about, that without women, there would be no beer. Okay, I don't know if you know this, but some of the inventions, some of the devices that have been used, that have been implemented to brew beer, mechanized harvesters, pasteurization, kegs, taps, all of those were invented by men.
There you go.
So the men went out to the field. They took, and this is why women, just so you know, it's not to there are things that women do better than men. Working as a farmhand and brewing beer on modern inventions is not chief amongst them, just to be clear. This is why people get upset. It is about, and this is the issue too. We'll talk about this with the Twitter CEO. They aren't beholden to their user base. This is what happened right with Budweiser. As the sales went down, or Bud Light, right? The stock went up for a little bit. Why? Because it's about their shareholders. It's about the board. It's about the ESG score. It's about BlackRock. It's about Vanguard. It's about international interest. It's not about the actual people who consume the beer. And the left just takes history and then says the opposite of it.
Yeah.
But who invented the bikini?
Well, it's probably a guy.
Yeah, probably a guy.
It's
the reason
self-serving
that-
a little bit.
But
Men
also,
would buy Miller Lite.
also tampons and birth control, just to be clear. And we did that for you. Okay, those are kind of for us a little bit.
We'll say.
I don't know why a guy invented pantyhose. Before that, every woman wore garter belts. Then we decided we need to make this
worse.
far less attractive and
A little
gross.
window into Steven right there.
What is that? I have no idea what someone's bringing up your.
Just his personal.
All right. Anything else that I missed?
No, I don't think you made. Look, they could have just sent out an ad that said, "Hey, we want to honor the contributions of women in brewing beer." Fantastic.
Yes.
There you go. Yay.
But in her defense, I think she meant it was a question. As a question, she said Mesopotamia.
And Mesopotamia.
So I think she started out with that
at
premise.
the very top of that.
Mesopotamia.
And then the entire industry has been beholden to that advertising since its infancy, essentially.
Yes.
And now you're going to go back and say, we're so wrong for doing this to you. And I'm like, no. Do you know how much money those people got paid?
This is what it is. It is now.
They loved it.
This is how you know it is so clearly. And I would love to. You guys can comment below. Used to be the pearl clutching, Republicans, right? People who would be like, that's inappropriate. And by the way, usually Christians just were saying, hey, that's age inappropriate for kids, right? We need a rating system like Rated R. Or South Park, for example, shouldn't be on at 9 o'clock at night when kids tune into a cartoon, right? That might have been the issue. But now the left is they're the pearl clutchers who are offended by everything. They're going, oh, bikinis? We're just saying like, hey, hold on a second. Maybe you shouldn't have NC-17, like 12-year-olds going in. But the left now is offended at the sexualization of women. And by the way, there's a limit to it. But here's the thing. Look, men like beer. Men like beautiful women. You put beautiful women in bikinis next to beer, the product sells itself.
Look, it's terrible beer.
They're offended by everything, but under what basis? I thought sexuality was empowering. Oh, unless it's women who don't look like you, namely attractive women who help sell beer.
To the monks.
Well, no, they're not advertising to the monks. I don't think they have televisions.
They make their own beer.
They have a lot of beer.
That's true.
They made the best beer, by the way.
Yeah, they do. They make the best beer, the monks.
Fantastic.
But the left is a religion. They're offended now. They're the ones saying you have to get rid of bikini. That's inappropriate. Really, what they're offended by is beauty.
Yes.
Take Lizzo and put her in a bikini, and it's beautiful and it's brave. Take an attractive woman and put her next to an American icon at a company, and you go, oh, hold on a second, that's wrong. That's wrong. You're sexualizing women. Do you think that if you take an attractive woman and put her in a turtleneck that men still aren't thinking the same thing? You're just skipping the intermediary step.
By the way, they also have no problem with a trans person in a thong performing before children. So,
yes.
Well, that's beautiful and brave.
Well, that's the right sexualization. The wrong sexualization is Kathy Ireland. Ugh, gross.
I know. Yeah. Natural women.
Yeah.
Ew.
We swapped out Elle McPherson for RuPaul.
Ridiculous.
It's the fall of Rome, folks. You're living it.
Watch Louder with Crowder live, Monday through Thursday, 10 a.m. Eastern.